Hello guys, welcome to another educative, informative and interesting video here on Efom TV. My name is Efom Hene. In this video, I want to take you through the detail of constructing a concrete pond. So in this video, we are going to share every detail, every process and the little secrets that we use in constructing a very formidable concrete pond. So on this farm, we are constructing a 35,000 capacity concrete pond. Because we want to make very good use of the land, we have 5 continuous ponds on each side with a corridor right through the middle to the end of the ponds. So on this side of the ponds, we have 20 feet by 20 feet ponds. These are 5 in number, and 20 feet by 20 feet can take 5,000 fish at table size each. And this is catfish we are talking about. So those 5 ponds are on one side, and on the other side, we have 15 feet by 15 feet ponds, also 5 in number. So in total, we are looking at about 35,000 capacity catfish farm. At the very foundation of the ponds, these are built just as you build your regular building, housing building, or a very good project in construction that you are doing. So you dig your foundation about 2 feet and then you pour your first concrete. Now, don't forget we are using 6 inches concrete blocks in this construction. So every block that we are going to use is 6 inches concrete block. So we lay the first foundation, that is the first concrete, and then we start to lay the first batch of blocks. Now this is going to form the basis for our foundation. Then we position our 14 mm 6 by 4 inches iron rods, and then we cast the columns. After we cast the columns, then we have to fill the foundation with coarse sand. And that is what you see this heavy duty machine, this wheel loader, doing. Because it will be very difficult to do this manually due to the size of the project. After the filling and then the leveling of the coarse sand by the masons, as you can see them doing, we have to now compact the coarse sand with a compactor, and this is a very heavy duty double roller compactor. Now before we start the compacting, we have to pour a lot of water on the coarse sand for the sand to settle. Now this is done maybe for about 24 hours. Pour water constantly on the coarse sand for it to settle and then break down before now you bring in the compactor to compact the soil that has settled and broken down. If you try to compact soil that has just been poured into the foundation without necessarily making sure that you pour water on it to break it down and make it settle, you might not get the best compacted soil, and this can later cause your pond to break in. And so this is very important that you note that before you do your compacting, you must pour enough water on the sand for about 24 hours continuous. Pour water for the sand to settle before now you bring in your compactor to do the compacting after you have leveled the whole place thoroughly by the masons as you saw them doing in the video. On this project, the land was very slopey and steep, so it was not possible to get all the ponds on a very flat surface. So you see that we have created some steps in the ponds as we moved down the land. And here you need people who are experienced and know what they are doing to be able to, build the ponds in such a way that you don't waste the land. Also in such a way that the ponds, though not on a level platform or level surface, can all be very strong ponds that you are building. This is how the ponds look after compacting coarse sand. And you can see this is nicely and neatly, professionally done. And this is what you want to see before you continue the project. Now, the next step of the project will be to now fix or install our down pipes. That's what we call them, the down pipes. The waste pipes that are going to carry water outside the ponds, the outlets. And this is where you create or you install the outlets. As you can see, these outlets are going to hold the floor drain that is going to allow water to come through the pond right out into your drainage. And so it is important that you do this after you have compacted the soil, because you don't want to do it before, because the compactor is going to destroy your pipes. So after you have compacted your soil, now you bring in the plumbing materials, and now you create your outlets. For this project, we gave every 20 feet by 20 feet pond 2 outlets. So one on the far end and then the other on the far right. And you install your pipes 2 feet from the side of the pond and 1 foot inside. 2 feet from the side of the pond and 1 foot inside the pond at both ends of the pond. So for the 20 by 20 feet ponds, that's what we did. And then for the 15 by 15 feet ponds, so that's what we did. We give 2 outlets mainly because these ponds are going to hold a lot of water, and you want to have 2 outlets so that when you are draining water, you can open both outlets at the same time to allow the water to drain as quickly as possible. So after fixing your ponds, it is now time for you to now cast your final concrete on the whole of the ponds. So here the ratio for the concrete mixing machine is half bag of cement to half of waterproof cement to 2 wheelbarrows of sand to 1 wheelbarrow of chippings. So this is your mixture, or this is the formula or the ratio you are going to use to mix the concrete that you are going to use to do the floor, the base of your ponds. And so this has to be very solid, and as I keep saying, your people must know what they are doing, because at this stage any mistake is going to cost you a lot of money to be able to repair. And guys, these projects are not cheap. This is not a cheap project. So if you are doing it, it must be done once and for all, so that you don't have to come back and now incur other costs in trying to fix something that was not done right. And so this is how it's going to look after you cast your concrete, final concrete on the floor of the ponds. And so the masons must make sure that there are no breaks also at this point in the concrete laying. Okay, so they must make sure that if they have to break, they have to break at a joint on the pond, like at where blocks were laid, and never in the middle. So every pond they tackle must be fully concreted. Every pond must be fully concreted before they move on to the next. If they have to break, it must be at the end of one pond, fully concreted, and then on the blocks that have been laid, then they continue the next time. So this is how your project is going to look, nicely done. And you use the board, the wooden board, to also keep the concrete in shape so it doesn't spill over, and then it maintains its shape nicely, as you can see in this project. Now we are ready to build the part of the pond that is going to hold the water and the fish. And this is what most people will call the pond, but it is a whole lot more than just what holds the water. The pond is a whole lot more. So here you can see we are just laying blocks, the 6 inches block. And due to the size of this project, we have different masons laying blocks at different parts of the pond at the same time. And this is where supervision is very much needed. You have to make sure that you are supervising the work to ensure no mason does work that will undermine the structural integrity of the ponds that are being built. So you have to make sure you have professionals at both ends or at any part of the pond who are laying the blocks, because most leakages of ponds come at this stage of laying blocks if the mortar is not fitted right and it is not well done. Then you see that over time water can leak through the pond. So this stage is also very, very important to note. On this project, we are laying blocks 2 courses each, and then we are going to lay a beam all over the pond. This way of building ponds actually help when you have a slopey land, as I already indicated in this case, and also when you want the pond to hold a lot of water and fish. You do this type of construction whereby after laying 2 courses to about 3 courses of blocks, you now put a beam all around the ponds and in the bit in between the ponds to hold the pond together before you lay another 2 course of blocks. So this is also quite expensive, but it saves you a lot of headache in the long run. So as you can see in this instance, you see after laying 2 courses of blocks, we are now going to put the beam, which is the iron rods, 6 by 4 inch iron rods, 14 mm, all around the concrete structure, that is the pond. And in this case, it is going to give us a strong middle belt of the pond. So no matter the amount of water or fish that you put inside, it will be able to hold the pressure. And even if the land is slopey, it's not going to crack or fall off or give way anytime. So far so good. At this point, you see the pond is really taking shape, and this is when you begin to see the results of what has been done so far. So by this time, most parts of the walls of the pond have been laid, and we have just started plastering the inside of the ponds. If you look closely, you will realize that not all parts of the wall has been built, and that at each pond we have left an entrance which is going to allow for easy access into the pond, easy movement of materials and other things that you are going to use in the construction into the pond: sand, cement, blocks, whatever that we are going to use in the construction. We don't want to build all the walls, so now you have to carry the materials over the wall into the pond. So we leave a small access road or access way into the pond, and after we have built all the parts of the pond, cemented or plastered all parts of the walls, then we seal up that access way or the entrance that we left. We seal it up, and then we can now plaster that part too, so that moving of materials becomes easy for you if you are building such a big project like this. So that's also something that we have come up that really helps us to move faster in the construction of the ponds. So after the middle belt beams, we move on to lay another 3 cores of blocks on the beam, and now you can get your 4 feet depth or height of the pond from the floor of the pond up. And that's what we are looking for, 4 feet, so that if you fill the water to minimum 3 feet height, because if you have grow out, you can fill the water to 3 feet to allow for more fish. You still have an extra 1 foot on the pond, so fish cannot jump out of the pond. This is how your pond is going to look after laying all your blocks and creating that middle belt beam. You can see neatly and nicely and professionally done. And this is what we do when we get a project like this. We do a nice professional job so that you truly get value for money. If you look, we have put poles or metal pipes inside the 15 feet by 15 feet ponds, where we said we are going to use the part for nursery before we take them into the grow out ponds. And this is because we are going to later roof that part of the pond, because this is where fingerlings are going to be put first. So you want to make sure that they get enough shade so the sun does not stress them out, and then you don't experience mortality or a high mortality rate. So those pipes would also have something to do later in the construction. Now, when we go to site or when we advise on what type of pond to build, we are looking at one, is it a permanent site? Sometimes people want to build ponds in a makeshift place or places that they don't own. If it is not a permanent site, we normally advise for tarpaulin ponds, because they are easily movable and then collapsible, and then you can just go and build them elsewhere. But if you have a farmland, or you are sure this is what you really want to use your land for, and it is a big project, then definitely concrete pond is what we are going to advise. It's going to be expensive, but into the future, this is what is going to help you. Because imagine if you are building all tarpaulin ponds at this very slopey land, the cost of casting concrete to level up the place might even be the same as if you had built the concrete ponds proper. So that is what we advise. If it is a residential area, or you want to do it at your backyard where you might need the land for something else later, definitely tarpaulin ponds. But if it is a permanent place, if it's a farmland, you are sure this is what you want to build and expand, then definitely concrete pond is what we are going to advise. So now you can see we have started rendering our ponds. That is the plastering on the floor, if I can put it that way. That is what we call it, rendering. And so the masons are doing a very good job. And this part is going to take a lot of your cement, rendering the floors, a lot of your cement, and a lot of waterproof cement or solution or mixture too. So this is also a very important part of your construction. If you make any mistake at this part, you might have to come back and do a lot of corrections to be able to get it right. So you want to make sure that the masons do a neat job, and then you supervise them very, very well. So all in all, this was a very successful project. It took us a couple of weeks, but after completing, we realized that we had done a very, very good job, and our client was very, very happy with the job that we have done, because we put in a lot of resources, we put in the best materials that we can get. There's no cutting corners when you are building concrete ponds. You will regret it later if you try to cut corners, or you try to appropriate some of the products or some of the materials and shorten yourself. You will not be happy with the end results. And this is how it's going to look like. You can see the ponds are nicely built. We have started filling some of them with water. Note that fresh ponds, concrete ponds, are not supposed to be filled to the brim. You fill it to the middle, allow it to settle, soak up, and then before you complete the filling of the water to the top. So this is how your project is going to look in the end. I hope this video is going to be very helpful to you if you want to later undertake such a project like this. If you want to see more of this, click on the subscribe button, share this video, and then see you again another time. Bye-bye.